Hello. Thank you for coming this morning. I appreciate the fact that I get to spend this time with you. And if you're watching us from afar, blessings go out to you. I cannot wait until we meet face to face. I put one hand around you to give you a warm embrace and hold the other one out for an offering. Anyway, how is everybody this morning? Susie, how are you? See you later. I understand we have a birthday boy in the crowd. I can get his attention. Stand up. Graham Porter, 96 years old today. Good to see you. He says, thank you very much. And what are you going to do to celebrate?
I'm going to listen to you talk.
Wow. What better birthday present could you have than that? Well, as I said earlier, I am so happy to be here. I'm going to talk to you this morning about the ups and downs of life, but more specifically about the ups and downs in regards to the attitude that you have about yourself. You know, life isn't always easy. People aren't always easy to get along with. There are times when we have the problems and challenges that seem to be overwhelming. I was talking to a fellow this week, and he told me that his marriage was on the rocks. He said he and his wife were arguing constantly. She seemed to be hounding him about everything. He couldn't seem to do anything right. And I asked him what he thought the problem might be. He says, I don't know. This happens every time she breaks up with her boyfriend. Anyway, life is good. I am happy to be alive. I am happy to be me. I'm happy to be here now, and I would like you to say that with me if you choose. Repeat it after me. I am happy to be alive. I am happy to be me, and I am happy to be here now. You know, every one of us has a self-concept. And quite simply, a self-concept is how we see ourselves and how we feel about what we see. And that means so much because it shapes the way we see the world. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to feel good about your life. If you don't feel good about your life, you're not going to feel good about the relationships that you have. A self-concept is everything. So when you look in the mirror, let me ask you something. Do you say, God, I am getting so old? Or do you say, God, I'm aging gracefully. I can't wait to do it more. When you have a problem or you make a mistake of some sort, do you think, I am just a failure? I can't seem to do anything right? Or do you say, I'm a student of life, and I learn from my mistakes. I am smarter because of the result of what happened. When somebody attacks you with criticism and harsh words, do you say, they're right and I'm wrong? Or do you say, I'm going to take their opinion and place it in the drop bin for delusions? How you see yourself is everything. And when we think about ourselves, we don't have to think of ourselves in glowing, conceited terms, but we just have to be at ease with ourselves. We have to be at home in our bodies. We have to be able to look in the mirror and smile and say, you are my best friend. Much of the self-concept we have has built up over the years. As youngsters, things were said to us, we believed them to be true, and that shaped us into the person that we think we are today. Many of the things that were said to us weren't complimentary, they weren't true. Albert Einstein didn't talk until he was 5 years old. He couldn't write until he was 7 years old. He flunked third grade, and his mother was told by his educators that he was mentally handicapped. Now, what would have happened to his life if he would have believed that? Mrs. Edison was told that her young boy, Tommy, was too stupid to learn, and he was taking up space in the classroom. What would his life have been like if she would have listened to what they said? Many of you know Ron McCorkle. He was telling me a while back, as he was growing up in the racially divided 50s, he met obstacle after obstacle after obstacle that tried to stop him in pursuing what he wanted to do. One of his teachers told him that he might as well drop out of school because the only thing he would ever be able to do is the simplest task on an assembly line at the factory. Ron liked to sing and he wanted to try out for choir, but the choir teacher said, "Don't even try because you cannot sing, it is not in you." Well, today, Ron holds many degrees. He's a musical therapist, he's a spiritual counselor, he's a professional musician, and he has a list of achievements that are mighty admirable. What would have happened to Ron if he would have believed those things that were said to him as he was growing up? Many things were said to us that weren't true, and we still believe them today, and so we hold ourselves back from moving towards opportunities that can really escalate the fulfillment and the joy that we get in life. Many of the things that were said to us came from loved ones, and they might have had a good intent, but nevertheless it came across as condescending and indicating that there was something wrong with us. Many, many years ago, my wife and her mother went to Hawaii for a 10-day trip. And I was left alone with two kids, my son Duke, who was 7 at the time, and my daughter Kristen Joy, who was 5. Well, on the day my wife was to return home, I was in a frenzy to make sure that everything was just perfect so that she would be impressed by how well I was able to maintain order and keep the house while she was gone. I stocked the refrigerator with fresh food. I hired a house cleaner that came in for 2 days to do deep cleaning. And to this day, I never told her that. I just hope she doesn't see this tape. She just marveled at what a good house cleaner I was. We were getting ready to go out to the airport to pick her up, and my daughter Kristen Joy came out of her room. Her hair was half combed, it was wet, and it looked like there was a mop sitting on her head. Well, I thought I have one last objective to accomplish, and that is to pull Kristen together so when her mother sees her for the first time, she'll be so happy to see her pretty little girl. I came up with the idea that I was going to give her a new hairdo. Now, at that time, Farrah Fawcett was the latest rage. She was a model and she was a movie star, and she had hair that just went all over the place. So I took Kristen in the bathroom, and we stood in front of the mirror, and with a brush in one hand and a blow iron in the other, I first of all blew her hair straight up in the air, and then I began to blow it around the sides. And when I got to the back, I curved it around, and when I was done, she had a mane that the Lion King would have been proud of. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about a 5-year-old little girl. Her hair was bigger than she was. When I was done, I turned around, she looked in the mirror, and she said something that I've never forgotten. She said, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, honey, I'm making you look just like Farrah Fawcett. You're going to be so pretty." And she said, "What's wrong with being just like me?" I was stopped in my tracks. And still to this day, when I think of those words, my eyes well up with tears. I was abruptly awakened to the fact that what I was telling her is, "Honey, you're not good enough the way you are. You need to be like somebody else." The lesson I learned from that is never, from that day forward, did I ever suggest or give an opinion for her to change from anything that she was. I just accepted her as she chose herself to be. The comments that we put on our children, the words that we say to other people, have an effect. And that effect can be devastating, or that effect can be uplifting. Many of us come to conclusions that we're not right the way we are, that we need to change and become something other than what we are. There was once a tadpole that was very disappointed and unhappy and ashamed about the fact that it was a tadpole. It sat back and watched his brothers and sisters grow into frogs, yet it remained exactly the way it was. So the tadpole began to act like a frog, tried to croak like a frog, tried to do everything that frog does, and it failed miserably. Well, eventually the tadpole grew into a frog. But the point is, the tadpole totally missed out on the experience of being a tadpole. That's a very simple story. But the point is, don't miss out on being yourself. You only have one chance to be who you are. You go through life as you are, and you can accept that or you can reject it. When you say, I am, what are the words that usually follow that? Are they derogatory or are they uplifting? When you say, I am, do you see yourself in a positive light or do you see yourself in a shadow of negativity? When you say, I am, the words that follow shape who you think you are. Now, I'd like you to do a favor for me. The next time you look into the mirror, I want you to stare deeply into the eyes that are staring back at you. What does that face in the mirror look like to you? Do you accept it or do you reject it? Does that face in the mirror smile back at you? Does that face in the mirror say, I am happy with you, I am pleased with you? Or does that face in the mirror avert eye contact? Does that face in the mirror look back kind of grumpy and sad? Does that face in the mirror look back with a sense of regret? When you look at that face in the mirror, understand that face has been with you since you came to this earth, and it'll be with you when you leave this earth. It'll never leave you. It'll never turn on you. It simply reflects back what you're looking at it. It doesn't make any difference what you've done in the past. It doesn't make any difference what people say about you. It doesn't make any difference what might happen in the future. But what does make a difference is when you look at the face in the mirror, you claim it as your best friend. We've all been through times of self-criticism, self-rejection. We all have little flaws in our self-concept where we think I would be okay if it weren't for this or if it weren't for that. Every day we go out in the streets and we are bombarded, whether it be by billboards or radio commercials or whatever else might be out there telling us that we need to be something other than what we are. If we're going to be beautiful, we need to do something other than we're doing. If we're going to be considered smart, we need to be something other than what we are and stop being what we aren't. It's time to move away from all that. The fact of the matter is, when you say I am, the only thing that needs to follow is I am that I am, a divine expression of God's Spirit. I shall be what I shall be according to God's plan for me. Over 1 trillion different atoms had to assemble themselves in a very definite and intricate design in order for you to be here today. There are no mistakes, there are no flaws. Make this the first day of your life where you go home and you look in the mirror and you smile at yourself. Make it the first day in a long, long time when you go home and you look in the mirror and that face staring back at you has a look of pleasure on its face because you are you. And this is the day for all of us to shed all of those concepts that we have been wrapped up in and move forth with a sense of confidence where we can stand our own ground and say, this is my life to live and I shall be what I shall be. In the book of Thomas, when the disciples came to Jesus and they said, how then shall we live? He pointed to the little children. And he said, be like the little children who take their clothes off and they trample them. And what he was talking about was their psychological clothing that we put on, layer after layer after layer of I am not this and I should be that. Take that off and be free to be you and give your blessing, give your light to the world. As we move into meditation, I just want you to think about that for a while. And when you look in the mirror, say to that face staring back at you, yeah, I'm sorry for the things I've said about you. When you look at the face in the mirror, say, I am sorry for the lies that I have told you. When you look at that face in the mirror, stare deeply into its eyes and say, I love you. So as we move into meditation, I invite you to get in a comfortable position. Take a deep breath and slowly exhale. And just relax into a state that is very serene, that is very comfortable, that is very peaceful, that is very harmonious. This is the day you have been given. Rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day you have been given. Rejoice and be glad in it. And as I say these words, please speak them back to yourself. I am happy to be alive. I am happy to be me. I am happy to be here now. This is the day I have been given. I rejoice and am glad in it. In the silence, just allow yourself to be. If thoughts come forward that are of a disruptive nature, just acknowledge them and allow them to float by like a cloud in the sky. In the silence. people that you know. On the front page of our bulletin, it says, I gazed into a reflecting pool and chose what I would see, beauty, love, and grace. It was smiling at me. And so it is.